Welcome to an episode of You Haven't Read What? I'm Krista.
And I'm Christina. Join us to explore unique genres, childhood favorites, and literary classics as we dive into each other's favorite reads.
Where one of us is very familiar with the book, the other is reading for the very first time. Let's go!
Hello!
Hello!
Our background person's telling us to finally go.
I mean, we can just sit and chit-chat all night. We should actually chit-chat about what we're supposed to be chit-chatting about.
Well, I mean, you've been gone, so...
I'm a little jet-lagged. Yep. But it's okay. It's okay. We had a fun trip.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We took the kids to Disney for 4 days and did 4 parks in 4 days. And
Yep. 4 parks? Oh, you did the 4 parks.
We did all 4 parks.
Ooh.
Was not the original plan.
Okay.
So, yeah, the original plan was only 2 parks, the 2 that we had never done.
Yeah.
But then we ended up with free tickets to an event at a 3rd park. That was get there at 6 p.m. till 10 p.m.
Okay.
But that was nice because it was a special event, and it was Animal Kingdom for that night.
Cool.
So there's only a couple of like big rides. Yeah. Walked onto them.
That's awesome.
It was great.
Yeah.
Just walked
it was
right
like the after hours thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They call it Moonlight Magic.
Okay.
So it was fun. They had a bunch of, like, you couldn't do any of the animal stuff, like the safari, obviously.
Right.
Let the poor animal sleep. But they had DJs and stuff all over the park. So my oldest and my husband had a blast just dancing, all over the place, just having a great time.
That's awesome.
And roller coasters and all of that. And so, yeah. And then we decided to then do add on Magic Kingdom for one evening. We did the Christmas party, which is a lot of fun. And also I shared a picture from the Christmas party, I guess, in the podcast that came out last week.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So, so we did the Christmas party, which is 4 till midnight.
Okay.
We were there till midnight.
Right.
We finally got into bed about 1 a.m., and my watch was like, congratulations, you have 1,200 steps today already.
Oh, man.
Ooh, this is depressing. So, yeah.
That's a lot of steps.
It was a lot of fun, but we're all a little wrecked.
Right. And when she says last week, she means episode...
We flew back last night.
12? No, let's see here. Episode, what did we just post? 7?
Chapter 12.
Chapter 12.
Of the first book.
Yeah, so the first book. So this podcast is coming out in January. So
2 months ago. I'll be over jet lag by the time this comes out.
I know, right?
But
I always forget about that little jump.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big jump.
Yeah.
Almost my kiddo's birthday when this comes out. Oh, I'm not ready for that.
I can't believe she's going to be so old, too. Oh.
I know.
Yeah.
But you had fun decorating our space.
I know. I got some new stuff. We went to a vintage fair, and I happened to see the same thing at another store, and I'm realizing that they're the same company. They just have a little space inside of another store in town. And so we saw this at the vintage fair, though, and I was like, gotta have it. They're all cut out of Reader's Digest books, and they are adorable.
So for those of you who can't see, it's the letters. It's
so
YHRW. You haven't read what?
Yep. And they cut them out to make the letters out of the books.
And they have buttons on them.
Yeah. I like how they kind of, closed them up so that the books can't just open and whatnot.
This one has 3 blind mice in it.
But we probably stood in front of the display for about, I'd say 10 or 15 minutes.
Trying to
deciding on which cover we liked the best.
They're so cute.
We didn't want them to be super the same or anything. So we wanted to make sure we had some unique ones in there. And then, so only one of them is a different color spine. But we didn't like the fronts because they would have matched kind of the other 3 letters. I didn't even
notice it until you said something.
Yeah, I didn't notice until my husband had noticed it. And I was
late.
We had already decided on them. And I was like, 15 minutes. We've already done it. Let's go. But yeah.
And you also found a snow globe Hedwig.
I did.
Sitting on a stack of books.
Yep. So Hedwig is sitting on a stack of books, and it's a little snow globe that has little glitter and stuff inside. and it's heavy.
Oh my gosh, it's very heavy.
Yeah.
It's cute.
But I found a couple of things to kind of start decorating our space.
Is more homey.
I know, right? And I plan on starting our new works table in the next week or so. So we'll be seeing that a little bit different in the future. Upcoming. Yeah.
We joke we're a little tight and we kind of play footsie with each other under this table every time we try to move or get caught up in a wire.
Right.
I ran over the wire trying to sit down, so.
Yeah, so we're going to change out the table and actually put some shelves on the walls instead of on the tables. So I think every time you guys come back onto YouTube and you watch us, it'll be something different.
It'll just be a little different, which is cool.
Yeah.
Get a little more homey, a little more settled in.
Try it.
In your rental.
Right.
Meh.
Yeah, whatever. We can fix holes. It is what it is.
Exactly.
Okay, let's dive in because I have 3
apparently
very large pages of notes.
I do not on these chapters. Well, okay, I do on the first one. So last week we talked about, we're in book 2 now, Chamber of Secrets, chapters 1 and 2, which were the worst birthday and Dobby's warning. Mm-hmm. And then this week, time allowing, we're going to go through chapters 3, 4, and 5, which are the Burrow, at Florishamblotz, and the Whomping Willow.
Yes. Oh, I just realized the title of the name.
Whomping Willow?
Yep, Whomping Willow. And
Whomps you?
Yep. It just dawned on me exactly what that meant. Oh,
That's
my
fair.
goodness.
That's fair.
Oh, wow.
So we start with the Burrow, in which Harry makes the great escape.
Yes.
And then, he says it's the best house he's ever been in.
I know. It
just sounds amazing. Mm-hmm. And also, like, what a compliment to the Weasleys and to Molly, and probably something Ron's never heard.
Right. Well, he always kind of acts a little bit self-conscious in a way when he's talking about his space or his family in the first book and in the second one so far. But it's homey and he's loved, so he needs to stop complaining. Be grateful for what he has. Right.
And then Florishamblotz, at Florishamblotz, I guess is the official name of the chapter. I wrote Flu Powder, puke, Malfoy's, puke, Lockhart, puke. It just keeps getting worse.
Right.
And then chapter 5, Whomping Willow, can't get to the train, and we fly to a tree that hits back.
Yes.
That's about it.
Those are the summaries.
That's the quick preview.
Right.
So now back to the Burrow. The Great Escape. So we ended the last chapter with he looks through his window and he sees Ron looking back at him.
Right.
And you were debating if he climbed a trellis.
Right. I was trying to figure out
and
how he
after
got
the
up
podcast
there.
I pointed to the cover of the book, which shows a flying car. And you went, oh.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
That makes a lot more sense. Well, but does it? Is that what your first instinct would have been?
No.
Flying car.
No.
A trellis makes a lot more sense.
For sure. But it's very muggle of me in that way.
It is.
Because
you're such a muggle.
I don't think of the wizardy whatevers.
Flying cars.
Yes. But I think it's amazing that it's Fred and George.
Yes. It's so perfect.
Right. It's
like clearly Ron roped him into this.
Oh, for sure.
Or didn't even rope them in. He hinted
probably
at it, and then I'm sure they jumped on it.
We need to go rescue Harry. Let's figure
opportunity
it out.
To go break rules and do something daring for a good cause.
Right.
Heck yeah, I'm in.
I mean, they're gonna kidnap a kid. Let's go do it. Okay,
they're freeing him. Let's be real.
Right. Oh, for sure. For sure. But I love the fact that George takes the time to learn how to pick locks. Because, like, in the last chapter, I was like, why doesn't Harry know how to do this? Come on.
I was like, wait for it.
And then George does it. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I love it.
And they've clearly taught Ron how to do it, too. Because then he doesn't, they just, like, hand him the pick. I'm like, wow, this is
he does it to
Hedwig's. A family matter. Nice. Or at least the twins have taught Ron.
Right.
And maybe Ginny. I could see that too.
I could see him doing maybe Ginny, but definitely not the older ones. No. Especially after reading these next chapters. I'm just kind of like, what's going on?
Percy. No.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But he runs out. He forgets Hedwig.
I know, right?
Or dude.
I was kind of like, how do you forget a really big owl in a really big cage that's very loud?
That you were just praising for staying quiet.
Right, exactly.
Then you forget him. Dude. Yeah.
Like, you did everything right. So my curiosity is, how does nobody hear the bars being pulled away from the house?
I mean, I think they do.
Well, but
I guess not.
they don't, because they don't wake up.
That's a movieism.
Okay.
In the movie, yeah, the bars wake them up and they come in.
Okay. So
That makes more sense.
Don't.
No, you're right. In the
And
book, they're shockingly quiet.
Right. And I'm like, how do they not hear the revving of the engine of the car? How do they not hear the bars literally being yanked out of the wall?
Vernon snores that loudly.
I doubt that, because he hears the dang owl. Like,
I mean, in fairness, he's also triggered by the owl.
true. That
So
is
you have
true.
those things that, like, at night, like,
Well, how do they not hear the huffing and puffing of the boys coming
Yeah, that's
down
true.
the stairs? Like, come on.
they're I like Harry, the third step from the bottom squeaks or whatever it is.
Right, yep.
Like, it's, good morning.
Right. Let them know that, so that they don't wake anyone up. But yeah, I just was curious, like, how. And not only that, but why do the Dursleys even lock Harry up if they hate him so much? Why not just let him go to Hogwarts and stay there? Like, why torture the poor kid and torture yourself, quote unquote, because
By keeping him?
Yeah, by keeping him. If you don't like him and you're forcing him to stay upstairs when you have company and be quiet and all of these things, then why not just let him just go?
Yeah, no. So there are reasons that he has to be there over the summer.
Okay.
TBD. To be revealed, I should say.
Probably
TBR.
hate all of the reasons already, but
No.
we'll see. Okay.
Anyway, so there are reasons
Okay.
he has to be there. But yeah, this whole, like, we're going to keep you from going to school. It's like, why?
Right.
Like, it gets him out of your hair.
Right.
Yeah, you don't like where he's going.
But at least he's gone for an
he's-
entire year.
He's not there.
Right.
You're
And
not
you get to
wasting
pretend-
your scraps of food on him.
Right. And you get to pretend you really only do have one son
Yeah,
at that point.
that you're proud of.
Yeah. But I did find it also interesting that when Fred and George are like talking to Harry about like everything that happened, like, why did he get a summons for like using magic and all this stuff?
Even though he didn't.
Right. But then they're questioning him about Dobby and like, who hates you enough? And their conclusion is Malfoy.
He jumped straight to the Malfoys. I was like, well, that was quick. Okay.
Right. So I'm kind of like, okay, but did he actually come from the Malfoys or did he not? Like, it's almost like that's where the author wants you, like you were saying in the first book, like that's where the author wants you to look and to see. But at the same time, like,
There's so many hints
so many
throughout the book
layers.
that's like, nope, that's not where this is going.
right. So now I'm going to have to be like that super
You're, like, second-guessing
Nancy
everything.
Drew detective and be like, okay, it can't be the Malfoys. That's too easy now. Like, so it's got to be
Because you took the
something
first book,
else.
hook, line, and sinker, and now you're gonna tiptoe
Nancy
your
Drew,
way through
where's
this
my
one.
Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass?
There you go.
Yeah.
Which is fair. Oh, that was weird. I'm good. Still alive. Need water.
Choking while we laugh.
It's so dry here again. Florida was so humid,
I know, right?
but it wasn't. Actually, it was funny. It was cold there, so everyone's running around like 65 degrees in like winter jackets. We're
Yep.
running around shorts and t-shirts.
I know how that is.
It's
Yep.
like,
We used to, as kids, go into the ocean during those times, and people are like in their big old parkas and they're like scrunched up with scarves and
65 and
everything.
sunny.
And I'm like, let's go in the ocean. Let's go do this.
Right.
Exactly.
They do hint at that the house elves have super powerful magic, and that like Dobby came and went from the Dursleys without a wand, and the twins are the first ones to be like, yeah, they may be servants and stuck with the family, but they're not powerless.
But they're only allowed to use their magic when their owners, quote unquote, allow them to. Or at least that's how they made it sound.
They can use their magic so long as they are not knowingly, actively going against their owner's will.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I will say, who owns Dobby would not be a fan of him being there, does not approve.
Right,
of him
because
going
they
and warning
don't want
Harry.
him warning Harry.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
So
like,
he can use the magic to go to and from the Dursleys, obviously, and float the cake and blah, blah,
Right.
blah. But
to maybe get him into trouble.
yeah.
So, interesting.
So it's not so much that they can't do it without permission. They just cannot actively disobey a direct order to not do something.
okay. That makes sense.
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
Our kids are really good at finding that line too. Like
Right.
It's like dealing with a toddler. I wasn't explicit. Wasn't explicit.
Right.
That when I told you to go upstairs and get socks, I meant you to put them on.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. I do also find Mr. Weasley's job very fascinating.
The misuse of Muggle Artifacts Office.
Yes. I wrote that and I was like, I find that really cool. Like, it's almost like a hidden game in a way where you have to go and like find all of these things that people have enchanted.
I was laughing though because they say it's the most boring job whilst in a flying car.
Right.
And yes, I had to look it up. They're from Surrey, which is
Okay.
where
Yep.
the Dursleys
Outside of-
live.
Yep.
I'm going to butcher saying this. I should have had Google say this. Ottery St. Catchpool.
Yep.
I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
Would be a 3-hour drive southwest from London.
Oh, okay.
So that's driving. So in a car as the bird
That's
flies.
right.
And we know they live outside of that. Like they're in the car at least 2 hours
right.
to
Yep.
do some basic math here. But yeah, it's southwest of London.
Okay.
So a good ways outside of the city.
Right.
Which will come up later. Then they're hinted, how many times can Percy polish his prefect badge? Wink, wink.
Right.
Like, it's such adult humor.
Yeah. Well, it just dawned on me what you were talking.
They say it a few times. Like he's in his room polishing his prefect
and
badge. I'm like,
I
oh
even-
no.
I even was like, what is Percy up to? Because I'm like, okay, is it a girl? Like, is it even a boy? Like,
Percy
is
has a
it
girlfriend or
him?
love interest.
Or is he actually being sneaky and different? Like,
He's
I
a
don't know.
teenager. he's got a girl
I mean,
or whatever.
Right. Yep.
And yeah.
He has a
And
love interest.
The Weasleys,
Do we ever find out what Percy's actually doing inside? I didn't.
you know, your husband is making crude jokes. I'm not
know,
going to
right?
read out loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's, I said, it's a very tongue-in-cheek adult humor of,
Yeah.
nah.
But they don't actually tell us what he's actually doing.
No, I
They're
think
just
he's
being facetious.
writing to a girl. Thank you, Bob. I love the description of the beautiful unkept garden.
Oh,
That
yes.
makes me happy.
Yep.
'Cause
Yep.
we all are so used to these, everyone needs these perfect little green postage
And that-
stamps lawns. And it's like, you know what? Or you can just let the natural stuff grow.
Yeah, the natural gnomes.
Yeah, well, the gnomes. But like, it doesn't have to be all postcard perfect. Like,
True.
just
Very
let
true.
there's beauty in unkeptness. And
Yep.
I like that. I like that being
Like
pointed
right
out.
now, one of our neighbors is fighting with the HOA over clovers growing in their yard. And
let 'em
she's
grow.
like, it's better for the yard because it doesn't
Yes.
have as much consumption of water and all these things. And I'm like, cool, you do you.
Let it
dude.
grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Let it grow.
But I do want to say that I need a wand that does all my dishes for me.
Right. Right.
If
Fold
she has,
my laundry.
right, exactly.
what my
But if she
husband's
has
doing
a
right
wand
now.
that can do those things, then why not have it like keep up with the yard work or that kind of stuff too?
I've always wondered if there's like limitations to how much magic you can have actively running at the same time. It's like,
Oh,
how many
okay.
browsers on a,
yeah.
on a computer, how
Yeah.
many you can have open at once. And also, I think there's also a line, I actually hadn't thought about this till just now, that there are certain things that like we could do for our kids, for example,
Right.
but we choose to let
Teach
them even sometimes fight through
Right.
to figure out to learn how to do things on their own.
Yep.
So there are certain chores I'm sure she's like, I could do that. But you know what?
Yeah. Well,
Good
she's
lesson for the boys and Ginny.
Especially for them flying a car in the middle of the night without a note, without letting anyone know. There's no owl. There's nothing.
There's nothing.
And I just love the way
6 hours round
just
trip.
keeps like talking and yelling at them. And then she just like turns to Harry and is like, "Hi, I'm so glad you're here. But like it is total mom to everybody."
Yeah.
And the fact that
I don't blame you, Harry,
she
dear.
still feeds them and takes care of them while being so angry with them.
Which is the opposite that Harry's had all summer.
I know, right? Exactly.
Total flip here.
The fact that she's like forcing him to eat 4 helpings of food. Like,
how skinny has this boy gotten?
right. But I just think that her mother instincts are just, super awesome when it comes to Harry and everything. But the fact that Harry then does the punishment with the boys, with the gnomes, like taking out, well, yes, they
had a lot of fun.
to like figure out how to get them across the whatever,
over
like
the fence and
who can go the farthest or whatever.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Well, and I like the description of the gnomes because they are very different to what we see here or out and about.
Not like colorful red hat garden gnomes. Like
right. And that's what I was imagining. Yeah. But then the description is just like this bald, like gray style person.
Like weed.
Right. And they dig holes like prairie dogs in a way. And so it just like, it reminded me of prairie dogs, the way that they were describing how to get rid of them and everything. Very much like prairie dogs. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, it shows how far out in the country I grew up to. Yeah, to have tons of prairie dogs. But yes, I wrote that I love how Molly is just so doting to Ginny, but then to Harry. And that Ginny is so excited to see him, but so shy.
Terrified.
Like, doesn't even speak to him.
I think I made a note about that in the next chapter. Yeah. Because it just keeps coming up. But it's cute.
Yeah.
It's like little sister.
I almost wonder if it is little sister, though, because he tends to bring his eye to her a lot, too. And you notice that throughout the way that it's written. Just that, like, he seeks her out, or he notes her a little bit, too. So I just thought that was interesting.
So how do we feel about Mr. Weasley writing law loopholes? Weasley. I'm still dying in our dry air.
I love the fact that he purposefully does loopholes for himself because he has such a hobby when it comes to muggle things and like fixing them. Or he's so excited. You read about it in the next couple of chapters too, where he just wants to know everything muggle, like everything. How does this work and how does that work? He's so interested. And you don't get that with a lot of like the wizards, like they're not interested in how the other half live. And I find that because of his job, he is just so interested in how the other half is. And
so invested.
Like, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like with me, how does like, I could be like, oh, I wonder how it is that you do all of your things, because you're a full-time worker, mom, like you do literally everything like that, you and your husband, and you have a house cleaning, cool. But like me, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't necessarily do all of the house cleaning or anything my husband does. And so it's like that.
He does everything.
It's that other half. How does that other half live? Kind of a vibe or whatever. But I love the fact that he just kind of like tries to navigate Mrs. Weasley away from those things and just like pretends like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
To try and get her to stop talking and being mad at him.
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to point out, because it just popped up on the screen too.
I'm not even paying attention to the screen.
You own 3 businesses, so let's not pretend you're quote unquote just a stay-at-home mom.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, now moving forward, how do we think Mrs. Weasley feels about this? Because I don't think she's a fan.
Oh, she's definitely not a fan of his hobby.
And like, even it's like, okay, you like Muggle things, that's fine, but
right.
You're gonna make a whole car fly?
I mean, that's cool. And she doesn't like,
How are you not a Slytherin?
like, I think that's super cool. But I think it's also where like she gets into the car free willing to go later on to drop them off. Well, she thought about flying. Like you could see the pause.
By the time they were running late. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I think she doesn't appreciate his hobby, and that's okay because it's his hobby.
Hobbies are one thing.
But to have a whole workshop full of things.
No, not even that, but to be doing something that actively goes against your job.
Yeah, but he's got loopholes.
Yeah, you're a Slytherin. Okay, cool. Moving on. I don't think Mrs. Weasley approves of the car, and it
definitely not.
bothers me that he chooses to do things that are A, questionably legal,
Yeah.
2, clearly dangerous, because now 3 of his kids plus Harry could have gotten hurt twice.
Okay, here's a question for you. So if you worked at a company, say like Home Depot or Lowe's, and you needed to get something from a very top shelf, you don't have a ladder around, you don't want to go searching for one because sometimes they're really hard to find or whatever, don't you just climb the shelf and get what you need?
You know who you're talking to, right?
Well, okay, fine, you don't. But I would, and I have, I should say. I used to work for Home Depot, and I have definitely climbed their shelves to get what I need. And I still do it.
No.
Because I'm short.
I write requirements for a living. I write rules for a living.
Yeah, and I go against all of them.
And I love it.
I mean, I have definitely done some workman's comp things. Like I broke my wrist once for working for a company. I slipped and fell and all that stuff. But yeah, like things like that happen. So for me, it's just you do what you got to do to get your job done, or you do what you do to get your hobby done.
Good God.
Anyways.
Okay.
The one thing that I do love about Harry at the house, though, is that he likes, and he describes the house as being like a main house, has been built on multiple times.
It's all wonky donkey.
Yeah, and it's like crazy looking and stuff, which I love. And I like the fact that he is just like, okay, let's go up to your room. Like,
this is amazing.
like, I'm cool with whatever happens.
Yeah.
You're all the way at the very top. Cool. Let's go and live underneath the goal.
In a bedroom.
Well, he was locked under the cupboards for a long time.
Right.
So, the stairs.
So even the Dursley's house being all proper is not Harry's home.
No. And
Whereas
he
Ron, even though it's not proper and it's all hodgepodge,
right.
it's home.
Right. And Harry just specifically is like, you really don't have anything to be ashamed of. Like,
nope.
I love it. And it's cool.
Nope.
And the big eyeballs that come out of the door when he's walking by, being Ginny.
Oh.
But yeah. But anyways.
That's how I started actually. The next chapter, Flourish and Blots, was there's a note that I said Harry chooses to ignore / be polite about Ginny's nerves.
Yeah.
Like she dropped something and he just ignores it, goes about his day. I'm like, that's so nice of you. Like you could be I don't know, your big brother's friend and team up against her, make fun of her, but he just ignores it.
Right.
He's just super polite.
I think he should have helped pick it up, but that's my own instinct. Like I would have probably
that would have drawn attention to it though.
That's true.
So it's just like it's this very little polite way of there's a little
sorry, there was like a
puffball floating through the air. She's like a cat.
Felt like a cat in a way. Yep. Anyway,
but
yes.
But it's cute. It's cute.
I started the next chapter by saying that I hate that Harry finds that the Weasleys liking him is abnormal and weird. I hate it. And Water would tell me right now that I'm not allowed to say the word hate because it's a bad word in our house. We don't hate things. However, I hate with a deep passion that his life has come to a point where he thinks it's weird somebody likes him.
Somebody's kind
and
to
somebody
him.
wants him around.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Agree. That's
But
oof.
yeah. So I just was like, and then just kind of going from there, just like that everybody just kind of welcomes him, lets him be there, lets him be himself and whatnot. But I do worry that the Weasleys, so they start getting their school list and everything. And I worry that like the Weasleys, how are they going to pay for everything? Like,
Well, maybe if Mr. Weasley would stop breaking the rules.
he's still getting paid. He still has a job.
Anyway, he's putting his job on the line when they already don't have much. So
That's true.
I hate that he does this behind Molly's back. I hate it so much.
I do like the fact that Harry respects it though. Like when Molly goes into Gringotts and gets the last bits of whatever's in their thing.
He tries to be as polite as he can.
He tries to be polite about his own thing or whatever. Though I am surprised that he didn't offer to pay for a bunch of stuff. I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm glad he didn't. But I am surprised that his thought process wasn't to
He does
buy some
immediately, we're jumping ahead here a little bit, but he does immediately grab Ron and Hermione and go and buy a treat.
True.
And it's like, hey, we're going to have ice cream or something. And they sit down, they catch up on the summer. Like he immediately treats them.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is really nice and cute. And obviously he gives the free books to Ginny. It's like, I don't need these.
Right.
Which again is a nice gesture.
Right.
Without just, sort of panhandling kind of deal.
True.
So I think that he finds ways to help.
Right. That's true.
So,
but like you said, I did kind of jump ahead a little bit,
you're good.
but the, the flow powder or whatever it was called,
Flu
powder, it makes me think of another roller coaster. Like, why are there so many roller coaster style like things in these books?
Yeah.
Like we
Universal
had the
could do so much.
Gringotts, like roller coaster going down to the bank rooms, and then we've got the flu powder. And
that just sounds like teacups and I would get sick.
It does. It does.
So I was like,
all of the chimneys.
all the
swinging
optional
by.
ways of traveling, that is low on my list.
Oh, come on.
We'll learn about some more fun ones later. That would also make me sick, but this one's bad.
Right.
Also, teachers requiring their own textbooks.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of
I
him
have thoughts.
already.
I have thought. A lot of colleges are starting to not allow it. But that used to be a big thing, is that college professors would write a textbook and then require all of their students to get it. I'm like, you are funding yourself through your kids. Like, how? Let's not.
Right.
Not okay.
Well,
Go away,
it just
Lockhart.
shows the
so
self-preservation, not self-preservation, but the
selfishness.
yeah. And no, in the other part, like where like you're all about yourself. Like the, what is that? It's like an ego-y thing where you're like
egotistical.
Yes,
like,
yes. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, I'm cool. I'm the shit. So therefore,
You're all
everybody
gonna buy my
needs-
books.
Exactly. Though Molly loves him. So,
I know. Throw all googly eyes over him.
and like to me, I was imagining like, like those Fabio style,
The
like
flowy locks.
Yes, exactly. The Vikings Fabio style book boyfriend.
Baywatch
like,
again? What are we doing here?
Front of the book. I guess. But that's what I was imagining him to be. And then like it's not really.
He's actually fairly
Totally.
clean cut, piercing eyes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
His eyes match his drapes and his wardrobe. And it's like, oh gosh. But first, Harry has to go to Nocturne Alley.
Yeah. That was weird. Like, how did he even end up there? And how did he coincidentally end up in the same shop that the Malfoys are going to be into? And at the same time that Mr. Malfoy, Lucius, decides he wants to sell some stuff or whatever. So then Harry in turn tells Mr. Weasley, or is well technically telling Ron and Hermione.
The Weasleys
and
over
then
here.
Mr. Weasley overhears it or whatever. But
It's definitely a little coincidental that that's where he ends up. Because he coughs and whatever, sneezes into the dust when he tries to say diagonally.
Right.
It comes out as diagonally is kind of how it comes out. So he ends up over one from Diagon Alley. But the only slight justification I can put to it is like all of the students are heading towards
the same area.
To go get their books, to go get whatever they need for the school year.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense the Malfoys would be going also to get books and get everything that Draco needs.
Yeah.
And, might as well take care of a little bit of business beforehand.
Right.
Like, so it's a coincidence, but also like
not really.
Not a huge stretch.
Okay.
It's a stretch. It's a nice plot,
right.
sinker. True. And it really sets up this whole Weasley Malfoy
drama.
Yeah, because it starts off
in the bookstore.
Where Lucius calls him the Dark Lord and not He Who Must Not Be Named, which I put in all abbreviation HWMNBN. I was like, I'm not writing that out. And then, good Lord, Draco comes by everything naturally.
Oh, for sure.
His hatred of Ron and the Weasleys and Muggles, and it's like, okay, you set that one up real quick.
Yeah, and the fact that he almost sees Harry in the chest, so close. And he's just like so much like his dad or whatever in that way.
So like his dad.
Yeah.
Yep, which is fun. But then Hagrid saves the day again, part 2.
Right.
For flesh-eating slug repellent. And we finally meet Hermione's parents, who look totally out of place and confused. And do you blame them?
I want to know how they got in there. Like, how did
I still think there's a first years gather at the Leaky Cauldron.
This is their second year.
But now they know where to go. Now Hermione can get them in.
Right.
But I still think there's like an orientation day at the Leaky Cauldron for the Muggle kids. I want that book written.
I know, right? That's got to be a thing. Because it totally makes sense.
Because I obviously can't get in without a wand.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
Well, now it's not a problem for Hermione.
Yeah. I thought he just pushed a brick.
Doesn't he tap him with his...
Oh, maybe he does. With his umbrella? Now I'm going to have to go back and think.
But that's technically not supposed to be a wand.
Right.
So yeah, no, you must be able to get in without a wand. But again, there's got to be, like I said, Muggle Children Orientation Day at the Leaky Cauldron.
Right.
It's August 15th. Right. Or whatever it is before school starts.
Yeah.
But yeah, they look so out of space. Oh, and Snape didn't get the job again.
I know, I noticed that. I was like, ha ha. But Molly coming up to Gringotts Bank with her purse and Ginny following behind her and everything. It just makes me think of Water when she was young and just being so mischief and everything and being we gotta go, all harried and then she pulls out this broom to clean off Harry because of all the soot and
well, I'm sure she cleaned all of them.
Right.
Yeah. So it's such the mom thing.
Specifically Harry during that bank thing because he's got it all over and thanks Hagrid for helping and this and that. So glad everybody found you. And the fact that Mr. Weasley is just all about the Grangers being there and everything and is what's an escapator? And asking.
I highlighted that because the escapator made me laugh.
Yeah.
Because my now 3-year-old, he and I were in an airport and I kept hearing excavator. I thought he was talking about excavators. And I was like, and we kind of live in a construction site. He knows what an excavator is.
Yep.
And so I was like, no, buddy, like, it's just he and I at the airport. I'm like, there's no excavators here. Then we get on. I finally realized he was saying escalator. So for him, they sound the same. And he still calls it, instead of an elevator, he calls it a lelovator. And I am not correcting him on that one because it's too darn cute. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I don't care because it's cute.
Yep.
So he goes, we get in the lelovator. Yep. Yeah, buddy, we're getting in the lelovator.
Yeah, I do that still with water, and she's 6, and there's certain words that I'm just like, yep, that's exactly what it is. I'm not changing
on that.
Nope.
Again, that's one of those things they tell you you're not supposed to do. And I'm like, it's cute and I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
I'll learn proper later.
So first day of school feels similar to their first day of going to Hogwarts. And what did I say here? I say first day of school feels similar to their first days going to Hogwarts. Crazy and making sure kids have what is needed. Oh, that's never mind. I'm in a different chapter.
Okay. I mean, we're almost there. We're almost there.
I was so confused by my note. I was like, Huh. But yes,
there we go.
So when Mr. Weasley and Mr. Malfoy, decide to brawl, and then Hagrid steps in and
just grabs him. But I said, okay, Mr. Weasley, strong start, bad finish. Because first he starts off with, we have a very different idea of what disgraces the name of Wizard Malfoy, which is strong, well said, applause. And then he punches him.
Yeah.
After the next insult. And I was like, oh no, too far. And the poor Granger's in the corner now shaking with fright.
Right.
Again, could you imagine?
Right. I mean, at that point, don't you think there would be some wands coming out making people turn purple or something? Like,
I mean, at some point.
like, why a punch in the face?
I think he was just done at that point.
Yeah. I mean, and he really wants to take Malfoy down. So there's some tension there.
Yeah, he knows Malfoy's up to something.
Right. Yeah, for
Just
sure.
like, well, okay.
Well, nobody believes that he just was magically part of the dark forces or whatever. Like, he went with Voldemort for a reason. Mm-hmm. But
he just tiptoed his way back.
Exactly. But yeah, I think like you're right. Like, strong start, bad finish, and Hagrid
doesn't
stepping.
stick the landing.
Why was Hagrid literally everywhere that they needed him to be?
Hagrid is always the knight in shining armor. I don't know why.
He was in the other alley, and then he's in the bookstore, and he's just like all of these things. And
which, can you imagine as a Muggle, as your potentially second time in this magical land, witnessing two grown men get into a
you have to
fisticuffs,
think that happens in the normal world.
And then a half giant stepping in and tearing them apart.
Like plucking them off the ground and setting them in their own corners.
What a fantastic visual.
I know, right? I hope that's in the movie.
So chapter 5.
Okay, I'm not going to get the answer to that one.
No. I made my sad face of no.
No.
So, yeah. Harry's jealous of Ron already. And he's already making the assumption he has to go back to the Dursleys next summer.
Yep.
He's already like, well, this is going to suck to not be able to come back to this. And I'm like, I mean, fair. But why are you already jumping there?
Are we surprised the Dursleys don't show up at the platform?
No.
Okay.
They didn't want to take him the first time.
Well, no.
Still don't know why they picked him up at the end of the first book.
True.
Of course they're not showing up this time.
I mean, they did get a hole ripped into their walls, so who knows if it's fixed.
Yeah. It's exposed to the elements now in September.
Right.
In England. Lots of rain.
Yuck. Oh, gross. Yeah. No. But
this is the first mention we get of apparating. When Harry asks, well, wait a minute, how your parents get back
to another,
and they can apparate from point A to point B.
Right.
But they can't do it to get, like, save Harry or to get to him from Diagon Alley because they're underage. So not even the twins are of age yet.
Okay.
So it's kind of like having a driver's license.
Okay.
So except for everyone in the car has to have a driver's license, I guess, sort of. If you want to operate with a group of people, everyone has to have a driver's license.
Right.
So yeah, this is our first mention of like, because you've asked, like, how do you get
Can't
from
they
point
go
A to
from
point
one-
B?
Yeah.
They can, but it's not straightforward.
Right. They have to wait until they're allowed
You have
to
to
do
be of
it.
age. There's a test.
Right.
There's a whole thing. So this is our first mention of it. And I had to laugh because when they take off, Ron makes a joke about all we have to worry about now is airplanes being above the clouds.
Right.
Well, I work with spacecraft, and it's always a thing. People always ask me, like, wow, how worried do we need to be about this satellite running into something? I just kind of shake my head and go, okay, space is big. And it's kind of a joke in the community that we start with. Space is big.
Right.
And so when I left my job in DC, I got my boss a poster that said space is big because it became our joke. So we got that question all the time. I'm like, guys, like things do not get that close unless you're meaning to do it. And a few examples of that in recent history, but not going there.
Right.
And I thought the same thing, that when Ron makes the joke about seeing airplanes, they both bust up laughing because they know the sky is big.
Right.
There's no question that they're not going to
No.
see an airplane. I was
Yep.
like, that's really funny.
Yep.
I was like, oh, it's a joke, but I tell it about satellites all the time. That space is big.
Right.
And they fully recognize air is big. The
Air
atmosphere is big.
Right.
Like, you're not going to run into an airplane.
What do you think the Weasleys are going to do with an empty nest now that Ginny's gone?
Oh, now that Ginny's gone. I mean,
Like, they're an empty nesters until summer.
you're right.
Or, well, Christmas break, I suppose.
Yeah, fair. In theory, if everyone goes back
Yeah.
for Christmas this year. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, Molly will just keep knitting sweaters.
Well, and probably, like, eventually clean out the shed, like, his workspace.
Fair.
Hopefully.
I mean, he still has to work. He's got
Yeah,
plenty
but
of
does
stuff
he have to
going
work
on.
on cars and other
Well, his car's
muggly
gone.
things? I know, right? His
He
car
has
is
no
gone.
car to work on anymore.
Right? And why, so why did the barrier not work? Like, why did Ron and Harry miss it? Is it because there's some force field not letting Harry Potter go through because they don't want him back at school? You're not going to tell me.
Nope,
Okay, cool.
not at all. But you're also way too good at guessing and reading ahead. But you don't read
I'm
ahead.
not reading ahead.
I don't mean actually reading ahead.
Like, I'm not reading ahead. But I do want to know, like, how did they miss it? How did the barrier not open?
Seal itself.
Like, and I could maybe see, like, it being sealed after the train leaves. Or like,
I mean, that makes sense.
You know, on the time of the train leaves. Because, like, I imagine if I were standing or leaning up against that wall, I'd fall through.
But you have to kind of know to do it. Because remember, I nail my mic. Because in the first book, Mrs. Weasley makes the comment about, like, you have to know it's there. And if you're nervous, best do it at a run.
Oh.
So you can't just fall through
in.
it.
Okay.
Now, if somebody's leaning on it and you're trying to get through, then that's unfortunate.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can't just like accidentally trip through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she kind of explains it.
Yeah. So then the parents can, okay. So do the Weasleys know that the car goes missing when Harry and Ron have to take it? Because what did you call it?
They would go out to find the car missing and then go somewhere so they wouldn't be seen.
Well, if the barrier is locked, how do they just do that?
Oh, yeah. In theory, I guess if the barrier's
Ron
locked, they would just apparate out.
Yeah, but Ron talks about apparating to their house. Like, they'll just go home. So then how do they know that the car's missing?
You would assume
the
they would have
post?
gone and looked for the car. Like,
Yeah.
So just left a magic car hanging out. So apparate to somewhere else in the train station, apparate to the bathroom or something, pick a stall.
Couldn't they apparate into the car? And like have stopped them?
Trying to think if you can apparate onto something that's moving. I'll have to come back to that one.
Okay. Because that would have been my guess, is that they could have just, like, if they're going to do it to home, how do they know that the car isn't still sitting there?
I think Ron just made that assumption without doing the middle part of they will go look for the car
actual
too.
looking and everything. Okay.
And not really spoiling anything here, but rules around apparating is you can only apparate to places you can visualize that you've been to. So like I couldn't apparate into, the White House.
Right.
Never been there. But I could apparate to the front lawn because I have been there. I can picture it. So I'm trying to decide if, because you can picture the inside of the car, if that counts, or you're operating to a location since you don't know where the car is, you couldn't actually do that.
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
Something to think about, I guess. But why the flying car to get to Hogwarts? Like, I get it, but I don't get it.
It's a bad choice, clearly.
Obviously, like, even Professor McGonagall later on is like,
send an owl.
You should have thought about this.
Sit and wait.
Right?
Yeah, they don't think that one through.
Yeah. I think it's cool.
Didn't you ever do anything really stupid as a 12-year-old?
For sure. I think it's really neat that they decide, we're
Fix
going
their own
to take
problems.
the flying car,
Yeah, like, we can solve this.
Right.
But should you?
Right.
No, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not at all.
But the fact that they really enjoy it for the first couple hours and then
all of a
it's
sudden
like,
it's terrible.
I'm so tired of doing this.
Road trip. Then and 2 hours in, you go, this sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I laughed about that. And also, Ron finally mentioned the car has never gone this far. You didn't think to mention that before you left.
Yeah, when it starts like
As I get my
or whatever.
my crazy voice of like, what? Maybe mention that to Harry before you get flying.
Right.
Like, this is worth it, but
the car doesn't hit the castle or the lake.
It's true. They don't drown.
the big patch of yard. They hit a tree. Which at first was fine.
It catches them.
It does.
Then you find out that
the tree
actually catches them, and it
decides to hit them a lot.
Pummels the poor car. Sends Hedwig flying.
Yes. But like Hedwig gets out of there, obviously. It was like, I see ya, peace.
I like that. I was like, Hedwig runs to the owlery. I'm like, after that summer? She's done.
Yep.
That poor owl is done after that summer.
I wish they could talk or at least like write something or like leave like, like poop
she's
or
gonna
something.
Leave bird poop on his pillow for that one. She was, not his fault, but she was kept up in a cage
for months,
questionably cleaned, and fed morsels for months,
right?
And then is forgotten by Harry when they go to leave, and then is thrown into a barrier that they can't get through and rolls across the King's Cross station floor squeaking, and then gets plowed into this tree and gets sent flying out of the car. She's
she doesn't fly out of the car until the
car ejects them.
Yes, the car ejects
them. So she gets thrown from the car by the car.
Yep.
And she's like, I am so out of here. Yep. I will leave you a dead rat on your pillow tonight because this is the worst summer ever for Hedwig.
Right. But the car ejecting them was just like the icing on the cake. Like, yes. Peace. I'm out. I'm done.
I'm done.
I just find that funny. But I was like, well, at least they didn't fly and crash into the castle. But Mr. and Mrs. Weasley are going to be pissed.
Yeah, they are.
And then I want to know, do we ever see the car again? Because the car drives away. And is like, peace, I'm out. So
it goes off into the forest.
Along
with those broomsticks from the first year.
Except for the first, yeah, right. Except for the fact that Muggles see him or see the car. Uh-oh. So obviously, Mr. Weasley knows that they went to the school or whatever, and now he's got to. People have to do like damage control,
an inquiry at work.
Well, I don't know because they don't actually admit to anybody that he's the one that enchanted the car.
Yep. They're very careful, but Harry's like, what? Dumbledore saw through that one.
Well, they think Dumbledore totally saw through that.
Dumbledore saw through that one.
Probably.
As good as 12-year-olds can lie.
All-knowing anyways. But yeah, I just wonder, what, do we see the car again? And then we get to the castle... Because they're like, well, we got to get our crap up there, so let's go. And they look through the window and they're
that word,
sorting.
Snape.
Right?
Maybe he got fired. Or maybe, like, oh, no.
Yep. I just was like, oh, so Snape's not going to be there. Cool. And then I was like, well, but Snape's in the movies for a while, I'm assuming. Because he's like a main character at this point. And so, like, he's got to be there. But where is he? And then maybe he got fired, or maybe he got pissed that he wasn't
Missed
able to
out
be
on the job again.
Yeah. And then he's standing literally right behind them.
Right behind them.
Yeah. And it's sad that Ron misses Ginny getting sorted because
That
of
is
all
sad.
of this.
That is sad.
Like, but it's not surprising that Snape takes them to his offices in the dungeon area.
Yeah.
Because it's totally Snape.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get him, or he is trying to get them thrown out. So
yeah. He does that kind of like, it's kind of like a home court advantage thing. I'm going
Right.
to take you to where I think you are most intimidated and play
Yep.
a little cat and mouse game with you.
Yep. But I don't
Denmark.
understand throughout the books, Snape does not allow them ever to explain things. He cuts them off consistently. Every time they try to explain themselves, he always cuts them off. Is that because he doesn't want the actual answer? Because he's decided what they've done wrong, and therefore in his mind, they don't deserve the actual answers? Or is that because he's just an evil person and just doesn't care?
Yeah. So,
Like, part of me wants to like Snape, but then like not
Give it time.
at all.
yeah, no, he's an interesting character. He's got a fantastic story arc, but all the way through, he's not great with kids. And you consistently get the impression he doesn't want to be working with kids.
So why is he a teacher?
Doesn't enjoy it. Yeah, good question. But like, he's not great with kids.
Right.
But
Yeah. But then he goes to get Professor McGonagall and Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And they have to tell their story twice because Dumbledore's not there the first time.
oh, and now Snape gets to hear the story.
Yeah, I know.
He does hear it
right?
eventually.
Right? Just not when he's supposed to. But
He doesn't give them a chance.
like they asked, Dumbledore and McGonagall asked, they listened, they heard what they said, you know. I am glad that McGonagall didn't end up like taking away Gryffindor points.
I
and
like
just
how
giving
quickly,
them
I can't remember if it was Ron or Harry.
It
And I
was
was
Harry.
like, technically the semester hasn't started. I was like, dude, this is not the time to be bringing that up. How about let's simmer down on the
But it
points
helps them
just be happy you're
because-
not expelled.
I know, but it helps Gryffindor because they don't lose any points, but they do get detention. So it's like
then-
a win in a way.
Then they go back to Gryffindor house, and everyone except Hermione and Percy are celebrating.
True.
I was like, oh, Gryffindors, always celebrating the adventure, even when it's not something you should have done.
Right.
As you can, you should have sent an owl. You
Right.
have one, Harry.
Well, yeah, again, though, like you mentioned, like they didn't think of that.
They're 12.
So, exactly.
don't
They're
think things
12-year-old
through.
boys. Come on.
But yeah, and the whole Gryffindor tower, again, with two notable exceptions, celebrating
Yep.
because it was an adventure. It's just such a
But why is
Gryffindor
Percy
thing.
so angry? Is it because he's a prefect?
He's a rule follower.
Okay. I mean,
I can sympathize with
I guess I can
Percy.
understand Hermione at that point then too. But here's another question for you. So Ginny obviously gets sorted into Gryffindor.
All the
Do
Weasleys.
most family members get the same houses? Unless you're like really, really dead set on being a Slytherin as a child. Like,
Unless you want to be evil.
do most siblings, because all of the Weasleys are Gryffindors.
So besides the Weasleys, we don't get a lot of siblings.
Sibling, like,
So I'm going to have to think about that one.
routes. Okay.
I can think of one other set of siblings we haven't met yet, and they are also in the same house.
Okay. So I'm
But
wondering if that's kind of a family trait or not.
probably
Because I wouldn't have
kind of.
expected, with the shyness of her, I wouldn't have expected her to be a Gryffindor.
I mean, she stands up for Harry and Flourish and Blotts.
That is true.
It's like she's got a little bit of that in her.
She does have that spine.
Instinctiveness.
Right.
See something that's wrong and step up.
Yeah. But
And then get made fun of by Malfoy, who's such a tween.
yeah.
Got yourself a girlfriend, Potter.
Well,
Oh,
I mean,
go away.
Whatever.
I hated those years. I hated those years so much.
Right. So they talk about 5th years. I can't remember how many Hogwarts years are there.
7.
7. Because
Because 7.
Because of 7. Okay. That makes more sense because I was reading it and I just was like, okay, how many years are there? Because they're 12 when they go, so they've got to be about 18
they're 11.
when they, or 11,
so
when they
you're
go.
roughly
So they're
17.
Okay.
Yeah.
17.
You become
18.
of age in the Wizarding World at 17.
Okay.
So yeah. So you go when you're 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Okay. But Hermione will be 18.
Yeah.
Ish,
Yeah.
almost.
Hermione's older. She's got a summer birthday. Late.
Right.
The
September birthday.
Yeah. Late summer birthday.
Yep. So, okay. That
Because
makes
I mean,
more
think
sense.
about our kids. Like our girls will always be in the same grade, but they will always start the next grade at different ages.
Right. Yes.
Yours will always, quote unquote, be a year younger.
A year younger when they're only 8 months
when they
apart.
start school.
Yep.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
that's kind of the same deal with Hermione.
Okay.
She always starts
School a little bit
a little bit older
Right.
just because of the birthday timing.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense. Okay. Again, why is Percy so angry besides the rule following? And Ron actually did not go to the hospital.
No, he didn't get added to my hospital count.
Doesn't go.
No, my
That's
hospital
great.
count for this book is still empty
Okay.
for now.
For now.
It's not going to
Wait for
stay that
Neville.
way.
Wait for Neville. We
for Neville.
we see him at the end of the chapter, so
That's right.
I'm sure something's coming.
Yeah.
Poor Neville.
Something's always coming for
Right.
Neville.
Exactly.
Oh, Neville.
But yeah. Okay. I mean, that's all my notes for the chapter. I was very concerned about Percy, though. Don't get what he's doing in the first couple chapters. Like, what's his deal? Why is he barely coming out of his room?
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Now I understand. I mean, nobody wants to clean your socks, Percy. Come on. But, like, why is he so angry? And
Yeah.
so, yeah. But, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next
No,
couple
he's just
chapters.
angry. I think at the end of this, he's a rule follower. He wants everyone else to follow the rules. So
Right.
he is angry about that. And I think he's also maybe a little jealous. His little brother is now best friends with Harry freaking Potter.
Well,
And
yeah.
like, he's always been, the
Percy, the prefect.
prefect perfect Percy.
Speaking of being a prefect, Percy, head boy, what is the Owl 12 score level?
Oh,
I did
yeah.
not understand that, and I forgot to write it down.
So they'll explain it more coming up, but the Owl's ordinary wizarding level examinations
Yep.
are like, did you have state test in school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always failed them, but yes.
So in Washington we had the WASL,
Okay.
the Washington Assessment of Student Learning, apparently still a thing. It's a WASL. Owl is much cooler.
Yes, it is.
And so it's kind of the same idea, but as you
Okay.
get higher in your grades, in order to, you kind of start to, I'm going to say, almost like you're getting into college where you start to pick subjects or just pick a major
Okay.
based on how you do on your owls. You get to start
Right.
picking your classes
Okay.
instead of having to do everything. And in some cases, you have to reach a certain, score
Level or like
to
an
get
ACT,
into the
SAT
next
thing.
class. Yeah.
Okay.
To be accepted to college, you have
Okay.
you have to get certain scores on this. So
Okay.
you get, that's what they're saying. You get so many owls,
Okay.
opens up more doors.
And so 12 is a really good number.
Yeah.
Because one of his brothers also gets a 12.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I think Bill.
The one, maybe, yeah.
Charlie's
Charlie's
with
the
dragons.
one with the dragons.
Yeah.
So
Bill's
yeah,
one's
I
doing
think so.
banking.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense then, because I was confused by that, and when we were talking about owls, it brought it up.
Triggered.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, those are just like, yeah, like you said, growing up as a kid, you had whatever state test you had to
Right. Yep. I always hated those
sludge your way
things.
through.
Right. I don't honestly think that they are super
They're not
telling.
super telling.
If you ask me.
No, not at all.
Because like I'm very good verbally, but like a written test
Writing.
is like really hard for me because I get stumped or so like multiple choice, follow the different things kind of questions where they're
Yeah.
like, okay, this person has this many apples, this person has this many, and then they like change a word's version to be like the opposite of what you actually think it should be, and
Yeah.
I always get thrown
They
off
mess
with
with ya.
those. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword because you've got to figure out how schools compare. So
Right.
even within a state, like
Yep.
who has a teaching method that's working? Who has a teaching method that's not? Who has like,
Right.
how do we divvy up resources? Like you got to have some way to figure that out.
Yep.
And standardized test is an easy way to do it and a halfway fair way to do it. Because
Yeah.
for every one of you that are in one school, there's an equal number of yous in another school that are
Yep.
having the same issues that aren't behind, but are
Right.
just don't test well.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I don't test well.
Yeah.
Never did. I hated when I got to college and a professor would be like, okay, the final is 50% of your grade. I'm like, God, I hate this class.
Give me a written final.
Dang
Let me
it.
write you an entire story or something.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Or it'd be like, 50% of your grade is this project we're going to work on all semester. And the final test is like 10% of your grade. I'm like, great. I can at least get a B. Let's go. Like, I hated tests. They don't
Right.
test well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Is,
It's
yeah.
a broken system, but it's a system we got.
Yeah. And it makes sense that they use a system like the same ones that we have like in the real world.
Yeah.
In that wizarding
It's an
world
easy
too.
metric.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a broken system, but it's the system we got.
Yep.
So
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
good times.
Yeah.
I did have a friend who broke her arm right before I think we did the Walsall in fourth grade.
Oh, my
I think
goodness.
that was the year, it may have been ninth grade. Because you did it in fourth, ninth, and 12th.
Okay.
And fourth grade didn't count. It was just an assessment.
Yeah.
And then ninth and 12th, quote unquote,
Yeah.
counted. I went on my transcript, but nobody
Actually cares.
well, and if you didn't apply to a Washington State school, they don't even know what it is.
Right.
So who cares?
Exactly.
But she broke her arm, and so she couldn't write, and so she had to have like a teacher's assistant sit with her, and she would tell them what to write. I was like, that sounds awful. But also may have helped you in treating it more like an oral test instead of a
Right.
written test.
Right.
Like,
Maybe next time I'll just break something.
I mean, you did that plenty already.
I did.
but-
I definitely did. But yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've got
Cool.
some busy weeks coming up.
do.
This is really late for this, but happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
we're-
in literally 2 days for us right now.
Real life,
Yeah.
real time life. There
Real
we
life.
go.
Yep. But
We got Thanksgiving. We're gonna go skiing.
Yep.
I'm so excited. When this comes out in January, I will still be skiing and excited about skiing or snowboarding. As my,
Right.
especially my older kid is always like, "Mom, you don't ski, you snowboard." I'm like, I use it generically. It's fine. Let it
Right.
go.
For sure.
So yeah. But when this comes out, okay, so happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, Happy New Year.
New Year.
Hopefully your resolutions haven't fallen off the track quite yet.
By the time this one comes out, yep.
if we're still doing this, then sweet.
Yeah.
Like we're excited. We're having fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having fun. I'm trying to figure out all this hairy stuff. It's starting to make my anxiety go because I'm like concerned for these little 12-year-olds.
They're not real. It's
I know.
okay.
I know.
Don't lose sleep over it.
Let's see here. So yeah, I mean, we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah,
already
it's
be
the
that
same
year.
year. Yeah.
But
what is 2025 like? Tell us. Because we're not there yet.
Right. Let us know in the comments what you think of 2025 already.
I've mentioned a couple of other podcasts I listened to. I found late. And so I was listening to them in 2020, usually late 2020.
Yeah.
But they're recording in 2019 and they're talking about all the things that they're going to go and do in 2020. And I'm like, this is so depressing to listen to. So we can't get that far ahead.
I'm sure, right?
The world shuts down and we don't know it.
Right.
It was like they're all talking about all these great, trips that they have planned and cons they're going to go to. And all this. I'm like, you guys aren't going to that. You're not going to that. You're not doing that. This is so depressing.
Well, okay. The years that shall never be named again will not be happening again next year.
No.
So
Can't
nobody will need to go out and find toilet paper or like random weird things. It's gonna be fine.
It's fine. It's
Yep.
fine.
Everything's
Totally fine.
Nothing's on fire.
We'll be snowboarding and having fun and
Exactly.
celebrating
I won't
your birthday.
be, but yes.
You'll
Celebrate,
be
yeah.
lodge enjoying reading Harry Potter.
For sure. For sure. Well, anyways,
Cool.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. Thanks for listening in.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for joining us for this episode. If you had fun, please follow, download, and review this podcast on your preferred listening platform.
If you're ready for the next chapter, join the spoiler-free conversation on our Facebook group. Search You Haven't Read What? The podcast.
Or on Instagram and YouTube for exclusive videos and behind-the-scenes content. Have a great week.
And we'll catch you on the next page.